From JBS Studios in Greater New York, this is the JBS News Update with Teisha Bader.
I'm Teisha Bader with the JBS News Update for Monday, November the 16th, 2020. 2 rockets were fired at southern and central Israel over the weekend. Palestinian terrorists in Gaza fired the projectiles late Saturday. Both landed in open areas, one near the city of Ashdod and the other on Palmachim Beach, south of Tel Aviv. The IDF said there was no significant damage caused and no injuries. The Iron Dome was reportedly used on one of the rockets, but it failed to shoot it down. In response, the IDF tweeted Saturday night, "Our forces just struck Hamas underground infrastructure and military posts in Gaza." Israel's President Reuven Rivlin shared exciting news from his residence today that Israel will send its second ever astronaut to space next year. Eitan Stiva, a former fighter pilot in Israel's Air Force, will embark on a mission on the International Space Station in December of 2021. Rivlin said at the ceremony, "This is a day of national joy and great pride. An Israeli pilot with a blue and white flag embroidered on his shoulder will prove once again, as we have been showing here for 72 years, that even the sky isn't our limit." Stiva, as I said, is Israel's second astronaut, the first being his close friend, Elon Ramon, who tragically died along with his entire crew on the Space Shuttle Columbia in 2003. Rivlin paid tribute to Ramon as well as to 2 other members of his family who passed away since. Elon's son, Asaf, killed when his plane crashed during a fighter pilot training exercise in 2009, and Elon's wife, Rona Ramon, who died from cancer almost 2 years ago. Rona established the Ramon Foundation to educate and inspire youth about space exploration. The Ramon's son, Tal, was in attendance at the ceremony today, telling the gathering, "I'm very excited because I know if my mother were standing here, she would put up her hands in victory like this and speak very proudly about our friend," referring to Stiva, who remains very close to the Ramon family. At 62, Stiva is one of the oldest astronauts on record. He will be on the space station for 200 hours, about 9.5 days, conducting a variety of scientific experiments. Well, Ethiopian Israelis today celebrated Sigd, the annual festival where the community renews its covenant with God and the Torah. President Rivlin welcomed senior leaders of the community on the holiday, which the Knesset made a national holiday in Israel back in 2008. Israel plans to airlift thousands more Ethiopian Jews waiting for years in transit camps in places like Gondar and Addis Ababa this coming January. The situation in Ethiopia has of late become more worrisome because of escalating violence with rebel forces in the Tigray province. Tigrayans fired rockets Friday on 2 airports, including in Gondar. And last Thursday, the Times of Israel reported the conflict claimed its first Jewish victim, 36-year-old Gurmu Gete, who had been waiting to emigrate to Israel for decades, was killed in a Tigrayan attack. A senior delegation from Bahrain will reportedly arrive in Israel this Wednesday for bilateral talks with Israeli officials. Israeli news site Walla said last night that Netanyahu and U.S. Secretary of State Mike Pompeo, who arrives in Israel this week as well, will meet with the delegation led by Bahraini Foreign Minister Abdullah Latif bin Rashid Al Zayani. The country's official Bahrain news agency confirmed the report today, saying the visit will serve to underline Bahrain's firm and permanent position towards supporting the peace process, and to shed light on the economic opportunities and opportunities for bilateral agreements with Israel. Saying further, this official visit to the State of Israel aims to conduct many joint talks between the 2 countries in light of what has been agreed upon in the Agreement in Support of Peace and the Declaration of Principles in the Abraham Accords. The trip would mark the first official visit by Bahraini ministers to Israel since the signing of the accords in Washington on September the 15th. Taking a look now at our programming for tonight on JBS for Monday, November the 16th at 7, it's The Wisdom of Dr. Ruth, followed by the story of Jewish survival after exile. At 7:30, Israeli director and actor Gur Bentwich and Israeli actor Alon Abutbul talk about Bentwich's award-winning film Peaches and Cream with Eric Goldman on Jewish Cinematheque. At 8, Daniel Gordis explains the reasons he still believes in the two-state solution and discusses why some American Jews have grown distant from Israel. That's with Laura Shaw Frank by AJC Advocacy Anywhere. At 9, Mark Golub sits down with Benjamin Anthony and Brigadier General Amir Avivi, who present their new state solution. At 10, philanthropist Charles Bronfman speaks at the 92nd Street Y. And coming up next, it's Good Week Israel. And that's the JBS News Update for Monday, November the 16th, 2020. I'm Teisha Bader. Stay healthy, stay well.